The storm had begun earlier than expected, rolling over the coastline in wide thundering sheets that rattled the windows of Armand Verma's massive cliffside mansion. The house, an architectural marvel of glass walls, cold steel beams, and echoing hallways, stood like a silent beast against the roaring sea. Armand, a self-made millionaire known for his perfectionism and secrecy, had returned that night from a business trip that had drained him more than he cared to admit, but the exhaustion on his face was nothing compared to the weight he carried behind his eyes. He had told no one he was coming home early, not even her, and that was mistake number one. The second mistake was assuming the mansion was empty. He walked through the vast foyer, dropping his keys on the marble console, listening to the familiar hum of the automated security system. Everything appeared normal, except for the faint smell of sandalwood drifting through the air. A smell that didn't belong there. He followed it slowly, each step echoing across the silent halls, and although he tried to convince himself it was nothing, a part of his mind had already begun piecing together possibilities he didn't want to face. He reached the main corridor, and that's when he noticed it. One of the hallway lights flickering, something that should have been impossible in a house so meticulously maintained. Then he saw the third mistake. The bedroom door was already slightly open, a thin line of darkness slicing through the hallway. He hadn't left it that way. Armand placed his hand on the doorframe and pushed it open slowly. The room was dim except for the storm's flashes casting pale blue shadows across the floor. And then he saw her, Mahar, lying on the bed, her chest rising and falling in quick, shallow breaths. She looked exhausted, drained, almost as if she had run a marathon through hell itself. The bedsheets were twisted, the pillows scattered, the curtains half open and swaying violently with each gust of wind. But it wasn't the disarray that froze him. It was the blood. A smear of dark red ran across the edge of the sheet, disappearing into the folds where Mahar's legs were tangled. Armand felt his heart stutter, his breath catch, as if the entire world had narrowed into that one horrifying detail. He stepped forward silently, his pulse beginning to hammer in his temples. "Mahar," he whispered. She didn't answer. He moved closer, careful, as though the slightest wrong move could cause the entire moment to explode. Finally, she lifted her head, eyes hazy with a mixture of fear and delirium. "You came home," she whispered, her voice raw. "What happened to you?" Armand's voice trembled despite every effort to control it. He tried to reach for her hand, but she jerked away sharply, wincing in pain. "Don't touch me," her voice cracked. The storm outside grew louder, pressing itself against the windows as though trying to listen. Armand forced himself to breathe. "Tell me what happened. Who did this? Why is there blood?" Her gaze snapped toward him, wide and trembling. "You don't understand," she whispered. "It wasn't someone else." Armand froze. "What do you mean?" Her lips trembled. "I tried 7 times. His blood turned to ice." 7? What? "Mahar, what are you saying?" She shook her head, gripping the edge of the bedsheet. 7 times, Armand. I thought I could do it. I thought I was strong enough. But every time I tried to stand, to leave this room, something pulled me back. Something in this house. Something that doesn't want me to leave." Armand stared at her, trying to keep his thoughts from unraveling. He had heard strange things from the staff. Whispers about the original owner of the mansion, stories of a woman who vanished decades ago, rumors of sealed rooms and things that moved at night. But he had dismissed all of it. Money had taught him one truth. Anything can be fixed with logic, management, and control. But standing here now, watching Mahar tremble, watching her fight tears and exhaustion while blood stained the bed, logic felt like a weak, collapsing bridge. He sat near the edge of the bed. "Mahar, what exactly happened here?" She swallowed hard. "I tried to leave. I tried 7 times. Every time I reached the door, it slammed shut. Every time I tried to call someone, the signal died. And every time I tried to step outside," she shuddered violently. "Something pushed me back. Something cold. Something strong." Armand didn't believe in ghosts. But the fear in her eyes was real, raw, chilling. He looked at her feet. The reason she couldn't stand. There were deep scratches, like someone had dragged her across the floor and she had fought against it. Except the direction of the drag marks pointed toward the bed. Armand's breath hitched. The storm howled outside, the thunder so loud it felt like the sky was splitting apart. He stood up. "I'm calling security." You need medical attention. Mahar shook her head frantically. No, don't leave me alone, not even for a moment. If you walk out that door, it won't let you come back. What won't? He whispered. The house, she breathed. A chill ran down Armand's spine. Mahar, listen to me, there's no such thing as. The lights flickered violently. Then went out. Total darkness swallowed the room. Mahar screamed. Armand lunged forward, grabbing her hand, anchoring her to reality before she spiraled into terror. The emergency lights kicked in moments later, bathing the room in a sickly red glow. That's when Armand saw something he would never forget. The scratch marks on the floor had deepened. Fresh, as though something had just dragged claws across the marble. He pulled Mahar into his arms despite her wince of pain, scanning the room for movement, shadows, anything that could explain the impossible. His mind warred between disbelief and the primal instinct screaming at him to run. Armand, Mahar whispered, gripping his shirt with trembling fingers. It doesn't want me to leave because it thinks I took something from it. What did you take? She hesitated. I opened the forbidden room. Armand felt his heartbeat choke itself. That room, hidden behind the west wing, sealed with rusted chains, held the secrets of the mansion's first owner, an eccentric woman rumored to have practiced rituals, seances, and dark rites to bind her soul to the house. Armand had always intended to renovate it, but something in him avoided that part of the mansion, as though the walls themselves warned him. What did you see? He whispered. Mahar's eyes filled with tears. A mirror, old, cracked, covered in dust. But when I looked into it, it wasn't me staring back. Armand felt the air around him grow colder. What did you see? He asked again. She looked toward the dark corner of the room, her voice barely a breath. Lightning flashed violently. For a second, only a split moment, Armand saw a figure reflected in the glass wall. A woman, pale, hair long and tangled, standing behind them. When the lightning died, the reflection vanished. Armand grabbed Mahar, lifting her despite her cry of pain. We're leaving, now. She shook her head desperately. I can't walk, I'll carry you. He moved toward the door. The door lammed shut. The entire house groaned, as though alive and waking from a deep sleep. Armand set Mahar down gently and stepped toward the door, anger and fear mixing into a volatile surge inside him. Whoever, or whatever, you are, he said, voice trembling, you don't control us. Another gust of icy wind swept through the bedroom. The mirror on the wall cracked. Mahar whimpered. She doesn't want to hurt you, only me. Armand spun around. Why you? Mahar wiped her tears, voice shaking. Because I touched her diary. Armand stared at her, disbelief heavy in his chest. You read it? She nodded. It wasn't intentional. I only wanted to clean the room. I didn't know what it was. But the diary, it opened by itself. Pages flipping, words appearing, and then the room locked. The air changed. I felt hands around my ankles dragging me back toward that mirror. I tried to escape 7 times before I managed to crawl out. I've been lying here since morning, unable to walk, unable to move, waiting for you because I knew only you could break the house's hold. Armand's breath trembled. How? Because, she whispered, your bloodline is tied to hers. The words struck like lightning. Armand felt the world tilt. What are you saying? She was your great-grandfather's first wife. The one the family erased from history. The one who vowed to keep the mansion and everyone who entered it under her control until her legacy was restored. Armand, she thinks I'm taking you away from her. The floor vibrated beneath them. The closet door creaked open on its own. Cold wind curled around their feet. Armand pulled Mahar close. We're leaving, now, no matter what. He grabbed a metal lamp, swung it against the bedroom door with all his strength. The wood cracked. A second strike shattered it enough for him to create an opening. He pushed Mahar through the gap and followed, ignoring the burning pain in his arms. The hallway was darker than before, shadows stretching unnaturally long, but he didn't stop. He carried Mahar through the hall, down the grand staircase, past the flickering chandelier, toward the main door. Every step felt like resistance, like the air thickened around him, pressing against him, slowing him down. Behind them, footsteps echoed, slow, deliberate, following them with patience born of eternity. When he reached the front door, Armand felt a cold hand grip his shoulder. He didn't turn. He kicked the door open with a roar. Wind and rain blasted inside. He ran. Down the steps. Across the gravel. Toward the car. The moment he crossed the mansion gate, the cold grip vanished. Mahar gasped for air, sobbing against his chest. Armand turned once. The mansion stood silent again. The storm shifted, lightning illuminating the glass walls, and in the top window, reflected perfectly in the flash, the pale woman stood watching them. Smiling. Armand got into the car, engine stuttering to life. They didn't speak until the mansion disappeared behind the hill. And even then, Mahar whispered only one trembling sentence. Armand, she's not done with us.